Alright, for today's video, we're going to be finishing off our Buzzworthy Bumblebee Worlds Collide 4-pack figures by looking at Bumblebee. This is the obligatory Bumblebee included in this set. Like I've said before, the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line is mostly consists of just reissues of Bumblebee figures, but we've had a few instances recently of a new mold making it in, or a collection of figures that we haven't actually seen before. And this time around, he came with 3 other figures that are more interesting, in my opinion, and we get Bumblebee himself. And this is not a straight up reissue. We've had some variants of this mold a bunch of times now. Like here, okay, we've got this Bumblebee, we've got Hubcap, we've got Cliffjumper, we've got Bug Bite, and we've got, Netflix Bumblebee. And there they all are together. And this figure conceptually bothers me a whole lot because when I got Netflix Bumblebee, my one main lasting complaint about this figure, what kept it from being pretty close to perfect for me, is the fact that it is just kind of not the right color. This figure is really more of an orangey yellow than an actual pure yellow. And now we've got our Bumblebee figure that is actually the color it's supposed to be, but it's the wrong car. Hasbro? This definitely feels like an instance of oh, they're resisting just making the figure that actually is the thing that everyone wants. You know what I mean? This figure I still feel is the better one overall, in my opinion, because I'd rather it be the right color or the right car than the exact right color. At least it's not purple or something. It's still a yellow, it's just a more orangey yellow. But it is kind of a bummer just because this guy, especially in robot mode, looks really, really nice, but this is the one that turns into the car that I want. It would just be so perfect if I could just have this figure in this color. But whatever. Here we are with another version of this figure, which I probably wouldn't have bought if it wasn't in a set that came with other figures that I otherwise wanted. But if you're someone who missed out on the Netflix version, or you care more about what the color of it rather than it turning into the Volkswagen, then this is definitely going to be something that people are looking for, because I've already seen things online of people being man, I really just want the Bumblebee. And that's funny to me because the Bumblebee was the thing in this set that I wanted the least. But I guess if people missed out on the Netflix Bumblebee, then this is pretty much the next best thing. Or, even better, if you like the color, if you care more about the color, or if you're someone who only displays their figures in one mode, so you can put him in robot mode and him in car mode, whatever. I mean, I want just the one definitive version of Bumblebee on my shelf. At least on my main sort of display, and that's always going to be this guy because he does turn into the car that I really want him to turn into. But that's neither here nor there. Here he is with all of his previous iterations. He does come with a few weapons. He comes with, yet again, a 5th version of the same bazooka weapon, which really is designed to be Cliffjumper's weapon. So now I've got 5 of these, and only one of them makes sense with the figure that it came with. But, I do like the green and the black aesthetic. Obviously, I don't think it works very well for the figure that it comes with, but it is nice, and to have someone else hold it, a different figure, it is a cool weapon. Obviously, you can still do all the same stuff where you can, take the little skiffs down here and put them under the wheels to be, the little skis from that classic moment in the cartoon that happened to a different character. And then you can take this section here, unfold it, and then this tab goes, or this peg goes into that hole there, and then these 2 tiny little pegs go into these holes right here. So you can, tab it in to have it. It's always kind of annoying. It only really works, honestly, on the original Cliffjumper mold. But yeah, you can have that kind of thing going on, and then tab these into the sides here with these little there's little slots on the handles for these tabs on the side of the car. And, it looks okay. It just is not really a Bumblebee thing. It's a Cliffjumper thing. So, whatever. And then, you know, for otherwise the storage, you can have it, you can put it all back together in its big combined mode, and then put these on to the side like that so they're not poking down and getting in the way. And then you can just tab that on the top, and that's supposed to be your storage, which, I mean, that's not storage, and I don't like that, but I don't care because I never wanted Bumblebee to have this weapon, so for me, this was going to go into a box regardless. But, you know, it is, I guess, nice to have another one of these. You know, they really have to fill out the deluxe budget with this guy since he is so small. So, whatever. I mean, I'm not complaining about having it. It's just like, I don't need it. But he also comes with a little Allspark accessory, which is, you know, going by the more recent design of the Allspark of being like the 20-sided die, basically. And it's okay. It's kind of like a gross color. So, like, and the color kind of eats light in a way that, like, when you're looking at it, you can't totally tell that it's like a 20-sided die shape. So it kind of just looks like this, like, gross little blob of plastic. I don't know. It's sort of like boogery colored. And then it also has it's got a hole on this side to like peg in 3mm pegs into like the blast effects have, so you can like peg it onto those kind of ports like that. But then for whatever reason on the other side, it has this other sort of cutout, which has like this little tab. It might have just been like a result of how they had to mold these things, but if you have got this hole, you want that to be the bottom. Now the top looks kind of gross too, so I guess that's the bottom, but now the top has that hole in it. I'm not overly thrilled with this. Also, I think it could have stood to be maybe a little bit bigger. It just kind of looks a lot better in images and stuff when it's like the rendered images, because you can see the edges more clearly defined. But you know, it's whatever. It's not like something I was really needing to begin with. So, you know, maybe I could do some dry brushing or something to it to like kind of pick out some of the edges a bit more in a way that makes it look better. But for now, it's like kind of an accessory, and that's kind of fine ultimately. Here he is with all of his not really wave mates, but pack mates, the figures that he's packed with, and yeah, you know, like I said, they look okay together, but have no business being with each other. But yeah, otherwise, oh, here he is with G1 Bumblebee to see what they look like together. Hey, look, he's the right color and the right car. Just do that, please. Come on. But otherwise, we can get into transformation. And just like with the other versions of this mold, you have to do a little bit of parts forming where you take this back section off and it just unpegs. And then we might as well take the peg out for that now. And then these side sections here, I find it's helpful if you kind of like try to separate it like that a little bit before you try to split this part, just so you can get that tab out from underneath there. And move those out to the side, take the wheels, fold them underneath, and then take the entire hood here and fold it down like that, and then take this section and it kind of pegs into the wheel well there. And do that again on the other side. Then bring these sections with the arms out to the side like this, which allows you to rotate the whole thing up like that. And then you take this the section here with the roof, fold that down, fold the rest of the hood in, then fold this, well, actually fold these up first and then fold that back up, because these are supposed to lock that in place, and then rotate them around at the waist, and then bring the arms down and fold them up correctly. And yeah, there you pretty much have him. You can take this section, he can either hold it as a shield, which I don't think looks particularly good, but it looks a little bit better on this version of the mold than it does with the Beetle version of the mold. But really, I think it looks best just pegged into his back where it's kind of supposed to go, and that helps hold this section in a little bit better as well. Because like on the Cliffjumper mold, like really like when you had this untabbed, like this was like a little bit looser, but on this one, like kind of like it's a lot looser. Like it's not the joint itself is not loose unless you're having him like hold the gun or something like that. Then it tends to like droop to the side, but it just kind of doesn't like stay locked in place well enough unless you take this section in and really kind of like press it into the wheels there to kind of hold it in place. And even then, it's like not perfectly aligned. But yeah, there he is. And you know what? He somewhat upsettingly looks very good. I'll get into this more once I, bring on the comparisons. But yeah, he's got nice blue eyes there, which are kind of hard to see with my lighting, but they do definitely pop very well. And He's got his nice Autobot logo right in the middle of the chest there. Articulation wise, the head is on a ball joint. You get a good amount of tilt too, just because you know it's got a bit more like this version of the mold has a bit less plastic around the head, so he can tilt his head a little bit more than the Netflix version. The shoulders are on swivels here, and then hinges in and out. It's got the bicep swivels there, about 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, wrist rotation, waist joint. He's got kind of that like reverse ab ab joint, I guess, so he can kind of like bend his arches back back like that. Then he's got universal joints at the hips, so he can fold forward, fold back, fold out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel, 90 degrees of bend at the knee there, and then the feet are on tilts. I wish, like, this is not exclusive to this version of the mold, but I do kind of wish that the feet had the option to tilt forward and back too, just because like he's got such huge feet that feels like more of a, it would make him a bit more expressive, I guess, to be able to like actually bend his feet forward and back, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, he's looks great, just turns into the wrong car. Here he is again with all the other uses of this mold. We've got Cliffjumper, Hubcap, Bumblebee again, and Bugbite. So you can see what they all look like together. And, you know, this guy, so Bugbite and him are pretty much the exact same mold. Like, they use all the same parts, whereas, you know, he's got different heads as those two and only shares a head with him. But this is the comparison, again, that matters the most for me. And, yeah, I wish this guy was that color, which kind of sucks because it's like, man, when like looking at the head sculpt, it really does kind of pop a lot better and has a lot more life in it in this color. I guess there's like something to be said about the shade of blue that they use for the eyes too, because this one is a little bit more like bland, and this one has a bit more of like a metallic sheen to it, which is not really showing up in my lighting at all, but trust me. So again, that's like an instance of like, really wish he was just the VW mold instead of this one. But like I get why they did this, because it's like, you know, every time you use this mold, which so far has just been once, you've got to like license out the VW car again. Whereas if you use this mold, it's like, you know, it's based on a real car, but like they kept it generic and different enough that they can, you know, like they don't actually have to do any licensing. So I understand why every time they re-release this mold, it's this version of the mold. But man, it's just such a bummer to be like looking at two figures that I really wish I could just smush together and make the perfect figure of like the Bumblebee that actually turns into the Beetle that is the right color. Shame. But you know, you've heard me complain about that enough. Here he is holding. He's got his weapons that you can still hold, even though they're really meant for Cliffjumper. If you want him to hold the Allspark, the only real way to do it is to just like peg it into his arm there like that, and I guess you could kind of like, you know, fold it underneath so he's holding it and it's actually pegged in. But there's no real way to peg it into his hands or anything, which is fine. Like, I don't think that it would have been the right call to like put a dumb peg at the end of it so he could actually hold it, but you know, worth mentioning. And then for a standard size comparison, here he is with Sideswipe, who, you know, just like a normal average size deluxe. And then here he is with G1 Bumblebee, who is the right car and the right color. But yeah, that's what they look like together. And then last but not least, let's bring on Nemesis Primal, Blackarachnia, and Fangry to get the whole set together. No, he's much smaller, so I've only adjusted my camera to fit his height in there. But yeah, that's what they all look like together. Now, so we're at the end here of our road with these guys. Should you get this set is the real question. Depends. Do you want the figures in it? I mean, like, personally, like, man, I said before, like, maybe check around on eBay and stuff like that if you're only wanting like one figure, but like that's a little bit dicey because like since there's going to be a lot of people who only want like one figure out of the set, there's probably going to be people who buy it just to scalp it and then sell the figures individually for like much more than they would normally go for. I'd say the best way to do it is like, you know, if you're friends with any other Transformers fans on like a Facebook group or something, try to find a way to like carpool it. If like someone only wants the Beast Wars figures and then the other person only wants Bumblebee and Fangry or whatever, like that's probably the way to do it. For me, I wanted the majority of the figures out of this set. The only one I really didn't want was this one. And like, I don't like owning it because it makes me so aware of what could have been with this figure if he were just the right color, you know, because I do think in robot mode, like, if I'm being truthful, I think he looks a little bit better. But at the end of the day, I still like this one as a figure overall better. So that's still going to be the one that I'm putting on my shelf with with all my Autobots, and then he's going to kind of be off to the side somewhere else. But whatever, you know, it's a good pack overall. And like I said in the last review, like it costs less than the cumulative sum of its parts because Optimus or Nemesis Primal is a Voyager, not a Deluxe. So it really, you know, I would have expected them to make it cost like, you know, 90 something or even $100, but they made it 85, so that is a relatively good deal. So I don't know. I'd recommend it, but it's ultimately going to come down to like what you're prioritizing having in your collection. And yeah, so that's really all there is to say about it. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee Worlds Collide 4-pack Bumblebee.